Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking About Adaptability. Today we're going to South Africa to Mr. Michael Lee. Sounds great. Let's go. Yes, and welcome to another episode of Talking About Adaptability. And the guest of today is Mr. Michael Lee. And before I introduce you, I always kick off with the question, what is the first thing that comes to mind if I say adaptability?
Well, Tom, for me, the first thing that comes to mind is innovativity, which is a word that I created that connects innovation and creativity around the concept of adaptability. So for me, that's the first thing I think of.
Wow, let's talk. Innovativity, that is a great word. Mr. Michael Lee, can you introduce yourself? What is your core business?
Sure. Well, before I tell you about myself, I just want to welcome you to South Africa.
Thank you very much.
Here, it's
Yes.
spring here, so I'm sure you're happy to get a chance to be in the warm weather. I'm certified internationally as a master of creativity and innovation coaching, but really, I work in a number of different ways. I work for a company in Silicon Valley that works with employee experience and innovation called Innovation Minds, but I also have my own organization called the Adaptability Institute, and we train individuals and organizations in creative thinking and innovation thinking, and we also train and certify creativity and innovation coaches. And I'm also a writer, a filmmaker. I've been in the film industry for 25 years. Currently stopped doing factual film because it demands a lot of adaptability on the fly and can become, actually, the dangers of adaptability get shown up in factual filmmaking. So I'm doing more drama now and script editing and story editing, stuff like that. And I also am a father of 2 children, and gosh, I could go on and on, but let's get into it.
Well, let's focus on the core business. And well, you've mentioned adaptability a couple of times, but what I'm also interested in is the concept creativity, because I'm a global speaker and a stand-up comedian. So being creative, that's also my core. But a lot of people say, well, I am not creative. So if you train people, if you train organizations, and that is their first thought, how do you deal with that?
Well, the fact is this, right, that everybody actually is born creative. And creativity and adaptability to me are almost the same word. They're very similar words. Okay. The reason I use the word innovativity is that I also believe that creativity and innovation are basically the same word. Creativity is a thinking, right? And innovation is an action. Other than that, they're really very similar. They demand the same thought patterns and the same skills. If someone says I'm not creative, the first thing I want to tell them is that a very famous study was done by a guy named George Land over 50 years ago that showed that of 5-year-old children, 98% of them scored as creative geniuses. I don't know if you're familiar with that study.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so the part of it that's disgusting is that when he surveyed 280,000 adults, only 2% of us adults scored as creative geniuses, right? So when someone says I'm not that creative, they may be accurate, but it's not because they don't have the skill to do it, right? Adaptability is probably the most human skill there is. All animals adapt. We've known that since at least the time of Darwin, right?
Yeah.
But humans adapt more easily and more efficiently than any animal. Yeah. And it's really one of our best skills. Unfortunately, the other great skill we have is not to adapt, right?
Yeah.
We're really good at that too. Mm-hmm. And so when you ask about creativity, Tom, it's really, being creative demands being adaptable. It's the same thing, mm-hmm. right? And the place that most people fall down is that, yes, our schools and our society have been designed for many, many years to not have us be adaptable, right? But also the way we grow up as people, we've learned since the beginning of humanity that we should all be who we are, right? We should find our voice. We should we should be sure of ourselves. And unfortunately, that is the opposite of adaptability, right? So the problem with adaptability today is really that the self has not caught up to the demands of the adaptability we need in our society today, right? In our 4IR world. So perhaps I'm going in a bit of a circle, but come back to innovativity. It really is just based on the idea that the most important innovation you can make is to innovate yourself, and to be skilled in innovating yourself at will every day, and to adapt yourself to the need of the project or the goal you're facing, right? Yeah. Rather than saying, I'm not the kind of person that, I'm not the kind of person that's good at that, right? Now, if it's a skill like, calculus, then okay. But if it's like, I'm not the kind of person that's good at listening to people talk a lot and then I get impatient, that's your choice.
Sure.
That's an adaptation you can make.
Yeah.
So innovativity really is the basic principle that creativity and innovation come from the same place, and that innovation in an organization or a team depends first and foremost on the adaptability and creativity of the members of the team.
Yeah.
But more than systems or structures.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. But then there are two ways that I think it went wrong. It started at school, like you say, 98% of the youngsters were creative. But then people go to work, and what if the CEO is not giving the right example? Of what if the company has a sort of structure with this is how to do it, and this is the way, and you got 20 sheets of paper, and this is our way to work. That it's very difficult to make a little bit change or even create something that's even better for the company. So do you think that the companies are aware of, or the CEOs are aware of that?
Well, I like to say there are 3 S's involved here, right? There's school, society, and self. Yeah. And you're absolutely right that the basic, the basic way that business has run until now is that as a leader, you need to know who you are, you need to know who the company is, and everybody has to fit into that. That has changed a lot. I mean, it's been 50 years since Future Shock, right? The prediction that everybody had to be adaptable. And he said within 20 years, it's been 50 years, and only COVID seems to have woken people up. Right?
Yeah, sort of.
Right. I mean, when you talk about CEOs and stuff, I mean, how many companies said, no, you can't work from home?
Exactly.
Until they had to work from home, and then discovered that productivity rose 20 to 25% on average. By simply working from home. Adaptation is actually easy for us. We're humans. But you're right. The structures that we've been trained in, and most companies don't think that way, but they're going to have to. Yeah. And you know that, right?
Yeah.
But the problem, Tom, and I want to be clear about this, the biggest problem isn't the structures and the society and the culture. It really is that as human beings, we think. We've been taught that we must actually be one person. Right. So even if you're in a company that encourages being adaptable, even if you're in a thinking, cutting edge Apple kind of environment, or Google, where they pay people to do nothing but think sometimes, a lot of people would struggle to be there. Right. They say, I'm not that kind of person.
Exactly.
And I think that the important thing for someone watching this is to get that, like, don't blame your school and your society. You right now, even in the situation you've been in, you can regain your adaptable skills. But I mean, I think it really is that, like, if you go back to the beginning of time in traditional societies, right, you'll find that about 2%, this has actually been studied, about 2% of the people in traditional societies are actually adaptable people, right? They actually,
2%.
The shamans, about 2%. Yeah. Adaptable, like shamans, artists, chiefs, the people who have to make decisions. Everybody else does the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
If you're facing down a lion, right, in the bush, there really is only one way to deal with that. Do you know what that is?
Lay flat and play dead.
That's close, but don't run. That's the first thing, right?
Okay, well that's what I had in mind. Yeah.
Don't run. Because
you can learn that from cats. If something is still, but if you move it, then suddenly he will be on it. So it's like, but that's the hardest decision you have to make, I guess. Like nothing is going on.
Yeah, and obviously, if you lie there and play dead, it might actually decide to check you out. But if you stop make yourself big and go very slowly back, right? But the point is that's how you do it. And so if you're in a crisis, if you're dealing with life the way it's been lived for most of time for humans, it's best to just do things the way that people told you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But that is no longer the case.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even I said, well, CEOs are responsible for that, but at the end, I mean, people are also responsible for their own, learning process. Of course, it's so you are able to step out and make the difference, but that's maybe you can maybe make a mistake. So, and if somebody said, "Oh, you did it wrong," and people go back again. So it's also a way of getting out there and having the guts to change something. We talk about adaptability, but it's a way more different angles you can look at it. And that's why I like your. I've seen your LinkedIn, and if I am allowed to show you this. Oh, thank you very much. This is your LinkedIn, and you also say that it starts with yourself. You say, well, are you ready to innovate yourself, and then your company, and then the world? That is, I mean, is that did you do it on purpose in that way?
Definitely. As I've said, the most important innovation is yourself. If you don't adapt yourself, you can be working at the most innovative company in the most innovative team. You are not going to deliver the results you want to deliver if you're going to be the same person all the time. Yeah. I mean, the great artists and so on of history did not have one way of doing things, right? Picasso had like 6 periods. He changed radically from one way to another.
Yeah.
And that's the way that, being creative, to me, when you ask about creativity, to me, creativity is the ability to think differently from yourself.
Okay.
Not from everybody else, but from yourself. Can you wake up in the morning and do things differently today than you did yesterday? That's adaptability, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm for the last 20 years, I'm a keynote speaker, but I'm also for the last 20 years, I'm a stand-up comedian. And so for me, fun is a very crucial product. That's my core business. And I believe, we need grit, we need mental flexibility, resilience, perseverance, everything. But I think fun, or having fun or joy in your job, in your lifestyle, that is one of the most crucial aspects. Because even if you are having a hard time, when you think, well, I just wonder what happens if, then you go on. Do you think? Can you resonate with that? That having fun or joy, is that an important aspect?
Well, first of all, you're tempting me to ask you to tell a joke, but I
don't
agree with I couldn't agree with you more. And it's not just fun, right? I'll get to that in a second. But actually, when you're dealing with being creative, every positive emotion or positive state is good, right? And every negative emotion or negative state is not good. You can't be adaptable when you're negative, because negativity is a conservative state. It's trying to preserve something, right? It's trying to preserve safety, right? So the most important thing, like having fun, is critical, not only around adaptability and creativity, but if you look at statistics now, the way the work world has shifted, how like 40% of people, currently are saying that if they have to go back to the office full time, they're going to find a different job.
Wow.
Upwards of a third of employees say they would rather continue remote work than get a raise, right? And why is that? It's because they enjoy working at home more, right? And it might not be more fun, but it certainly is more joyous and more peaceful, less stressful. There's a statistic also that shows that it is more stressful to commute to work than to work.
Okay. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Right. So just by not commuting to work, you're already cutting more than half the stress.
Very good. I think that's my studio manager. He always calls in when I forget something. Yes. Yes. Oh yes, I almost forgot that. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I will. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Sorry for that. What I wanted to know, that's also on your LinkedIn. I know you talk about it as a speaker. Is the subject uncertainty, and that is, of course, if you look at the era we're looking right now, everybody's got a small or a big piece of that. How do you see that?
Thanks for asking that, Tom. And I just want to say, I really want one of those too. I want a person to call me to help me answer
She's
things.
great.
But yeah, uncertainty is an important topic for me because, we live in this era that everybody, especially with COVID, everybody was so upset about the uncertainty of the situation, right? And more than even the deaths and even the job losses and all those things, what really upset people was the uncertainty. And it's not surprising because uncertainty is the biggest fear human beings have.
Yeah.
Right? And it ties straight into adaptability because, we are more afraid of being uncertain than anything else there, more than a lion, right, in our face. So there's a lot of studies, Tom, that show that fear of the unknown is the biggest fear of human beings. The studies that show, for example, that people that are worried about losing their jobs are far more stressed than after they actually lose their jobs. And a similar study showed that women who are being tested for breast cancer, they are more worried and stressed while they're waiting for the results than after they've been told they do have breast cancer. And if I tied an electric shock device to you and tell you, Tom, I'm going to shock you now, it will actually physically hurt you less than if I tell you, Tom, I might or might not shock you. So, the bottom line is that we are more afraid of not knowing than anything else. Now, the first irony there, right, is that uncertainty doesn't exist in reality in the world. There's the behind you on the screen, there's the planet Earth. We're using microphones to talk here. The Earth and the microphones, they are not uncertain, right? They just are. And we are the only beings that are uncertain and then get afraid of this thing we made up, right? Even certainty itself is an illusion, right? There's no certainty in life, right? The only thing that's certain is uncertainty, because you can't be certain if you get married that you're going to stay married. I'm divorced. You can't be certain that if you sign a contract you're going to get paid. I've had people not pay me when I thought they were supposed to pay me, and I was pretty certain they were going to. So certainty is an illusion, but uncertainty is too. And the biggest, question one might have is, well, why do we create uncertainty if we fear it so much?
Yeah.
But the bigger question you might ask, which is more relevant, is why don't we? Right? Because the fact is that uncertainty is the basis of creativity and adaptability. Right? If you are certain, you have no need to look for more answers.
No.
If you are certain, you have no need to be creative or curious. Right? Curiosity is actually defined by some social scientists as willingness to look for more solutions when you already have a good solution. Right?
Yeah.
If we are certain, we don't need to be creative. We can stick with what we have. So being adaptable rests on uncertainty. Right? So actually, while most people are terrified of uncertainty, and it doesn't even exist in the first place, we should cultivate an attitude of uncertainty willingly every day. When you think you know the answer, consider what if you don't. When you think your opinion is the right one, consider the other person's opinion as possibly useful. And it becomes a fine line, right? Where do you get paralyzed and not take action?
Yeah.
But ultimately, uncertainty. Go ahead, Tom.
No, that was what I was thinking of. That I totally hear you. I mean, I do understand. But the point is that if I think of a lot of people who are uncertain, they are captured in this uncertain situation, and you have to use it as a wake-up call. You have to use it. Okay, I'm uncertain, and what can I do about it? And then you can ask yourself the question: what would happen if? And if you ask yourself that question, that opens up a new world for opportunity, for adaptability, whatever, but then something is happening. So that's maybe the lesson learned if people watch this. If you are uncertain, if you don't have the answers, well, you can sit down and groom about it, or wake up and do something about it.
Exactly. And the talk I do is called How to Dance with Uncertainty. And that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
Uncertainty is a dance partner. It's not a lion. Right, and so you've said it perfectly, Tom. It's like, if you're feeling uncertain, embrace it, and get that like it's a gift. It's the greatest gift there is. And certainty is a big problem because it's a lie. So uncertainty at least gives us the opportunity to keep looking for more, and to adapt.
Absolutely.
And since you're so committed to adaptability, like that's the important thing for your viewers, I think, right, is get that uncertainty is your biggest gift.
Absolutely. I love to close off, I love the metaphor that it is it's your dance partner. Is that your talk about? You see it as a metaphor? Because
very much.
Because if you look back to high school or whatever, what normally happens is you sit there and you see this beautiful girl, or the girl see the beautiful man, doesn't matter what, and you think, oh, I would love to dance with her, And a lot of people don't. That's what I said. They've been captured by their fear, and some of the guys or girls, they step out there and they're thinking, what would happen if I ask her, would you like to dance with me? And if she says or he says yes, wow, that's the best thing that can happen in your life. So I love the metaphor. You instantly see that insecure girl or guy or woman on the side of a beautiful party, and is it going to happen or not? I mean, that's what people are facing right now.
Wow, Tom, thank you. You've taken my metaphor one step further, because I definitely was that guy in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, well, me too,
terrified,
actually. Yeah.
Terrified to ask a girl to dance, right? And that's great, because some people aren't, right? And I'm not afraid of uncertainty anymore. I'm not afraid of it at all. But I was terrified to ask that girl to dance. So I understand people that are afraid of uncertainty, because of that. So thank you, Tom. That's really great.
Beautiful. Well, I hope the internet connection stays, because I've got one last personal question for you. Question 1 is the easy question, and question 8 is the most difficult question. And for that, I mean, if you like it or not, so normally I ask people, do you want to choose or let the wheel choose? But you see, I already started the wheel. So which question
I hope
is
it's
it going to be?
I hope it's going to go to 8. I hope it's going to go to 8. But let's
it is going to be question number 5. Question number 5. That is not bad. Let's see.
5.
5. I will for the lawyers at home. This is really question number 5. And
is that prepared
the question is, what is your favorite quote? Do you have one? A favorite quote you can share with us?
Oh gosh, can I quote myself again?
Yeah, sure.
I've got so many favorite quotes, but I've got so many favorite quotes, but since I'm a shameless self-promoter, I would like to just quote myself to say, because I really want this to get home to people, the most important innovation you will ever make is to innovate yourself.
Wow.
And as much as I could give you about 20 other great quotes that I love, that's the one I know. To remember today.
Absolutely, a lot of wisdom over there. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know more about Michael Lee, look him up at LinkedIn. And reach out to him with a great talk and of course the great line he just gave to you. Thank you very much, Michael Lee. This was live from Amsterdam, and maybe see you next time on our next episode of Talking About Adaptability. See you. Thank you. Bye. Thank you. See you next time.